Hello, welcome to Human Tech, a podcast about the intersection between humans and technology. My name is Guthrie. I'm here with Susan. Hello, Susan.
Hello.
And with us, we have a very special guest today, Mona Patel, founder and CEO of Motivate Design and UX Hires, as well as the author of a couple interesting books. There's Reframe and The Thing About Swings. Hello, Mona.
Hi.
Yeah, Mona, as usual, Mona can't just have like one company or one title or one book. This is very Mona-ish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
I've known Mona for a little while.
Yeah, so I don't know Mona that well. You know Mona infinitely times more than I do. So
yeah.
I bet you Mona even knows herself even better than either of us.
I think Susan and I might know each other the same, actually. Really well. Things even I don't know, she knows.
So you want to go in reverse order? So you want to tell us about The Thing About Swings first, and we'll work our way backwards?
Yeah, I like that. What the heck is The Thing About Swings?
It is a story about design thinking that I told my kids to help them understand what I do. So there's an elephant named Ava. She loves to play, and she sees a swing, like a playground, and she really wants to go on the swing. So she runs to the swing, she sits on the swing, she breaks the swing. And, she feels like it's her. She internalizes the problem and says, it must be me. And all of her friends are around. It's super embarrassing. And she says, but actually, maybe it's the swing. What if we designed a better swing? And her friends, two of them say, I don't think we should do that. Kids love swings. We should just leave it just the way they are. And two of them say, you know what? Yeah, look at you. You're on the ground. This is awful. Let's think about it. So they come up with ideas like a bigger swing and maybe a more fun swing, one that has a timer so there's no fights when on the playground, one that has this gloppy seat so that it makes fart noises. And the entire time, the three of them are coming up with ideas, and even one of their other friends kind of comes over. There's a skunk who says, we can't do that. We can't do that. That's over budget. We can't do that. That doesn't meet the timeline. We can't do that. It's never been done before. We can't do that. I don't know if kids would like that. We can't do that. Somebody else has already done that. There's all these excuses that the skunk has. And the skunk gets really, really upset because everyone's not listening to him. They're just coming up with this prototype swing and having so much fun. And he blows up and he says, the swing broke because of Ava. She's just too big for the swing. And there's silence. And the friends look around and say, yeah, you're right. The swing broke because Ava sat on it. You think that's okay. We don't. And really, when things don't work, you have to use your mad and fix it. And that's what, the world, not being so black and white because you're a skunk, is all about.
Wow. I wish we were video. I wish we had video because you'd see me. As you were talking, I just had this. My mouth was open. My eyes were really big. I was shaking my head. So, obviously that's not really a kid's story, right?
No, it's not.
That's an adult story.
It's not. You're so smart.
Mona, you haven't done any consulting, have you?
It is a frustration that I have with the clients that, Susan, you and I have always worked with, where I see all this beauty and all this curiosity and wonder in them, but it's all masked by this, this belief that they can't do anything, that their organizations and all the red tape and their brand won't allow them to be creative and come up with new ideas that will make things easier for their customers. And I've been doing this for a long time, and it's getting to me. And I to give, everything from TEDx talks to Reframe. I'm just trying my best to use my voice to just get this to stop. Because I do think that design.
I think that's just the greatest story. I'm wondering if, I'm sitting here trying to figure out which clients are the skunk, but we won't go there. We don't have to go there.
They're almost all of them, unfortunately, and myself included, right? Sometimes I do that. Like we had this great opportunity where Spencer, actually, who was on the podcast before, is a dear friend of both of ours, and he had invited me to the White House for this awesome event. And so I told my son, I'm going to the White House. And he goes, I want to go. And I said, you can't go. He goes, you said can't. And so it's just really fascinating, the use of the word can't and how we throw it around with really no regard. And
did you go to the White House?
I did. Spencer got me an awesome ticket. It was amazing.
What were you doing at the White House?
They did essentially a South by Southwest at the White House, South by Southwest. And it was really inspiring to see how much innovation is trying to happen in government and the people who are trying to push it forward.
That's kind of cool.
It was very, very cool. Yeah. So anyway, the kids have really taken to it. I've read it at my kids' schools, and they get it. And of course, I want to make sure that people and organizations hear this message and understand that this isn't a way to be. A skunk is not the way to be.
So, are any of your corporate clients buying the thing about Swing's book?
Yeah. So I had a version that was all about the ideas, because that's what I'm all about. And I have it, and it just didn't feel right. So I didn't publish it because it didn't feel right. I just kind of printed a bunch of copies and gave it to friends. And this time I've updated it just actually this week, where they're actually prototyping. So there is, the orangutan and the Babarusas are actually creating the swing. And so you can see it. And this version feels better to me. It feels more in line with user-centered design. And so this is the one that I think I want to take to print. I would love to donate a chunk of this to charity. So I'm evaluating whether a publishing house will enable me to do what I want to do. And so far, I'm not super happy with what I'm hearing.
We've had various run-ins with publishing houses recently. They basically cut all the fun out. Yeah, and they're they're like, yeah, we're still staying in business, but we were shopping a book, and we kind of still are. So if you want, we have some good book ideas, but. A publisher actually reached out to us and were like, hey, we might be interested. And they're like, well, what kind of your requirements? And they basically told us, well, we're going to take all of the revenue from the book that you sell, but it's a requirement that you, through all your workshops and keynotes and stuff, sell 10,000 copies a year. We're not going to sell them. You have to sell them.
I think it was 20,000 copies in the first year.
It was
we had to buy $20,000 of books. I was like, I said we might be able to sell that many, but I have to guarantee that I am going to buy that many. It was just the weirdest conversation to me, because I've got a lot of books out there. I've dealt with different publishers before. This was a new one on me.
I don't know. So I would love to work with a publishing house who gets it, who wants to dedicate time, energy, and effort into the marketing, because we want this to get out there. But if I feel like I'm doing all the work, I'm more than happy to do all the work. I just will then kind of structure a deal that makes more sense.
Publish it yourself.
Exactly. And I do want, I do want this to be linked to a cause that gets me to push it. I feel like when it's my book and it's like, hey, read my book, that's not what I'm all about. At least I try not to be. It's much more, buy this book, because by buying it, we can solve this big problem. And that's what I'm looking to do with it.
So have you identified the big problem you want to give?
I'm really close. The leading contender I can talk about, it's actually it's something that's new that came to me this weekend. It's just I heard a story of somebody leaving a baby in a plastic bag in a dumpster, and the baby died. And it was just, that's not okay. That's not okay. So right now, that's the leading contender.
Yeah. Well, I love the that book just sounds so great. I could imagine it as a little animated cartoon story too.
Yeah, it's I know
video
too, with all the things that these animals can redesign, right? Just getting back to what we do, from elevators to apps to products and services to stores to car dealerships. I mean, they could go everywhere. Jury duty.
I have a question. So if you were to personify what animal would be the COO who is pushing everything on a really tight, agile dev schedule?
No, actually, I do have personas. So the illustrator that I have, Thomas, he is amazing, and he's one of the designers here at Motivate. And he asked me, he goes, Mona, where are your personas? And I hadn't done them. at the beginning. And I was like, for this? He's like, for everything, Mona. And so we sat down, we have personas. So Ava is obviously the designer. You have Ash, who is the engineer who will be building things quickly. And he is very agile and lean and very scrappy with what he's doing. There's Barbarossa twins, which look like pigs, but they're not pigs. And later they'll get really annoyed for being profiled as something that they're not in another series. One of them is kind of the project manager who's moving things along and helping things move forward. The other one is a bit more of actually doesn't even have a real job description. Is kind of a slacker who's there and just taking up space and just saying no to a whole bunch of stuff. And then Kurt the skunk, it could be any role, right? It's the person who says we can't do that. So, and sometimes that's legal compliance, sometimes that's or medical compliance, depending on the client. Sometimes that can be development. Sometimes it can be a designer, unfortunately, who's saying, we can't do that. We got to move faster, quicker, better. We've already tried that before. Whatever the reason is that ideation isn't happening.
What did your kids like the book?
They did. It was the reason I knew I was onto something is so I told them the story as a bedtime story, and then they liked it so much they asked for it again. That's the first time they've ever done that, and they asked for a couple times. So I thought I would write it down as a keepsake, something to give them when they're older. And I wrote it down and I shared it with people I worked with here, and they loved it. And one of the designers, Thomas, said, "I can see Ava." And I can see Kurt. He kind of sketched it out. And then when I saw them, I said, this is a book. This is a book. Like, let's just, and I just got obsessed. And I worked on weekends and I just have these hits of it. The first story wasn't this. The first story was all these elephants. Susan knows me, so she's going to laugh probably at this. It was a lot of animals designing the entire playground. And so everything was being redesigned, everything, like from monkey bars and swing sets and seesaws, and everybody was designing everything. It was just a big, design sprint. And and through the process of editing, we've ended up with an elephant and a swing. But that's not where we started.
Yeah, I can believe that. That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a great process.
Wow. I definitely want, I'd buy a bunch of copies of this book and
Thank you.
Send it to all my clients.
I would love that. And I think we can support some really awesome charities as a result. Thank you.
And then we could do, like you have on online, you have, which character are you,
Yeah. I love that.
We could have a little quiz, and based on your answers, we'd say, you're the skunk,
Yeah, today you're being skunky, for sure.
And then we could have, me, I'm just going to go crazy with it. We could have little hand puppets, and then you could bring them to your meeting and put the
I love that.
And then the hand puppet could say, we can't do that.
I love it. Hold on, I got to write that down. So good. That is so good. I love it. Because that's basically it. Like, don't say that. And especially on things that can be done, you just are choosing not to. Take the ownership of we're choosing not to do that. And we're choosing to put ourselves over customers. Then just say it.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I talk a lot about when I'm working with a client or in my courses, there's all these there's all this stuff that's unspoken, that just doesn't get said out loud. And sometimes it's because you don't even realize it's that it's an underlying assumption.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's an assumption, but you don't want to bring it up. And we just need to bring all the stuff to the surface. So, if you're sitting there in a meeting and you're saying to yourself, we can't do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would rather the skunks speak out. So that
me too.
Have it on the table and we all can address why do some people...
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
Actually, that's not true. It does happen. It totally happens.
No, Guthrie, why not?
So you're sitting in the room and someone has an idea and you think to yourself, yeah, that can't happen because Jerry, my boss, is just, he's never going to be on board with this because his ideas are antiquated in a previous way of doing things that hasn't existed for 10 years. But no one can say anything to Jerry because he's the boss, and then you'll get on his bad side. And so no one ever says anything. And it's all whole thing is about bad corporate culture and blah, blah, blah. No one tells the truth and there's no communication.
So what's really interesting is when we do our design thinking workshops, because of Reframe, which has the design thinking kind of process, but one of the steps is tell me all the reasons why this won't work. And we do make everyone list out all the reasons, from Gary to the politics to nothing's ever changed to we make a lot of money the way things are to we don't need to change to we're number one, why are we even doing this, to we don't have enough creative people. All that stuff gets written down, and then it maps to the excuse personas in the book. And we make them say, what are these? These are excuses. So Gary is not the problem. Stop being a blamer. That's your problem. The politics of the company is not the problem. You're being a scaffolder. That's the problem. Gary hasn't changed in 10 years. A, you don't even know that. But B, it's your job to change him. You work here. They pay you money. Take the responsibility of, it's my job to create things that make the world better. Whatever your company is, whether it's an app for getting a job to a pharmaceutical company that has a pill that's coming out and the website needs to be clear enough for people to understand when and how to use the pill. Take the job seriously. And I guess that's why I'm so frustrated and why I create so many of these random things, from UX hires, another company, to this and that, is, we got to solve the problem. We have to take ownership over solving the problem. It's not Gary.
So, Guthrie, Mona, I'm just reminded so much of, and I had totally forgotten, so Mona and I worked together at the same company for a number of years. I don't even know how many years, Mona.
Maybe 5-7 years, something like that. A long time.
Something like that. And I don't think I'm trying to remember. I was in mid-level management. And so it was my job to take the messages coming from upper management and then let everybody, underneath me know what was going on and where we were headed and what we we're going to be doing. And, sometimes these messages everyone was excited about, and sometimes, as happens in a company, people were not excited about the messages. But it would always be true that when it came time for me to call Mona and talk to her about it, like everybody else who might grumble or complain if they didn't like it, or even if they thought it was okay, they'd say, oh, okay. But I would get on the phone with Mona, and instead of a 10-minute conversation, it would be 2 hours, because she would not just, it was it's not okay to just let it go. If it's a bad idea, why are we doing this? And it's and she's very tenacious, just, digs in. And the problem is she was always right. That was always the problem, because then it was shoot. Okay. I gotta go back up to the, powers that be and push again, because Mona's right and they're wrong. So
you know what? Thank you for saying that, because that tenacity gets me in a lot of trouble. Tenacity,
there's the good word. Yeah.
It gets me into trouble more times than not. But the times that it works, like with you, where you can, really dig in and say, well, why are we doing this? And why, and why, and why, and why? And then what if? Here's the real problem we're trying to solve. And here are 20 solutions that are better than the one that we currently are dealing with.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff. That's what we're designed to do, as UX people, as design thinkers, as people who are supposed to be pushing our brands forward and offering more and more value to customers. I don't know. I take it really seriously.
And, it's interesting, because I think the role, we as consultants, as design people, perhaps don't talk enough about tenacity. That's
really insightful. Yeah.
As a, characteristic, right? I think about in all of the online training that we have, and I'll talk about, or even, I've got a bunch of soft skill stuff that I think about a lot and write about sometimes about, if you're going to be a designer, here are some of the things you have to have, right? I mean, you have to be resilient. You have to have your ideas beaten down and not give up. Yeah, you have to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I actually talked about tenacity, and I think that's a really important one, because there are so many forces when you're on a project, when you're designing something. There's so many forces that can work against innovation.
It's that's so awesome, firstly, and so insightful. The other thing that brought up for me, there's people say like how you take feedback, which to me is not actually quite it. It's what did you hear when someone told you that something wasn't good? Because myself included, part of what I struggle with, I know, is I take it really personally. So if someone says like, this deck that you've created, the flow is all off, I don't even know how you would have presented it this way, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Somehow so the translation, that skill, I've heard, Mona, you're a failure and you don't know what you're doing. Like somehow that's what I heard, and it is, it's really important to catch that and say, no, that's not what the person just said. The person said a couple slides need to be deleted and a couple slides need to be redone. But on a stressful day, sometimes I know my thing is I take it too personally and I'm really sensitive. Other people have other reasons, but how do you translate a really critical piece of feedback? Do you shut down? Do you get aggressive? Do you, blame yourself like I just did? What do you blame other people like Gary? Right? It's like, what happens at that moment? Yeah. I think that makes or breaks a designer.
Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, now I'm going to steal that idea because I'm doing a talk in Toronto in November on the connection between designing micro moments and the idea of mindfulness.
Oh my God!
So one of the things I do when I'm not doing our behavioral science work and is I teach mindfulness meditation, and so mindfulness. Guthrie and I were out at speaking last April at near Eyal's Habit Summit, and everyone there was talking. It's like people kept using the term mindfulness, and I said to Guthrie, "Oh, I didn't realize this was such a big thing in design circles."
It is.
And so then I added that micro moments and mindfulness to our list of keynote topics, and it got picked up right away by this group in Toronto. So that's the talk I'm going to give. And I haven't given this talk, so it's brand new and I'm working on putting it together. But I think what you just said is, that it's so true about getting feedback. There's one of the things we teach in mindfulness meditation is that there are these moments when, for instance, if we think about physical pain, okay, like your back hurts or something hurts, and there's this little moment when there's actually two parts of the brain that recognize pain. And so the first part of the brain recognizes that there is pain, but does not evaluate or judge the pain, just that there is pain and where the pain is located. And then there's a different part of the brain that evaluates the pain and decides, how bad is it and how much is this disturbing what I'm doing and what should I do about it, right? And so you have this tiny, tiny little split second between the observance of the pain by one part of the brain and the evaluation of the pain by the other. And I think that's a wonderful, it's real, but it's also a metaphor for everything, right?
Yes.
So you have this feedback that comes in, right?
You are
About
so speaking my
whatever.
language right now. Yes.
As just the feedback. And if you can, now what happens is we very quickly jump to hearing the feedback and then evaluating the feedback and having the emotional reaction. And if you can learn, which is what we do in the mindfulness meditation sessions that we teach, if you can learn to just catch that moment in between,
that's
right?
It.
And then you can often, not always, but you can often not go to the judgment part, which means you can just listen to the feedback and go, and then essentially go, that's interesting, right? that they would say that. And I wonder why they're saying that. And I wonder, what's the point of view they have that makes them feel that,
that way. Yeah,
or that
exactly.
Now,
that's
Guthrie,
what I've been working on.
I should have warned you. We should have warned you that Mona and I just both talk a mile a minute. And are you still there, Guthrie? We're not sure you can.
I'm hanging out.
Okay. But yeah, that's.
I love that.
I think that's really really smart, and the reframe book sounds great as well. And I think if you're doing, have you found, Mona, that because now you have your own company, you're not working for someone else, are you able then to work with clients that because there's some clients that would appreciate the tenacity, that would appreciate the design thinking mindset, frame, and then there's other clients that are like, we do not want to investigate truth.
Yeah.
Can we just please redesign the screen to be able to click this button and not go into anything else? So, have you found that you've been able to by the type of work you do attract the clients who want to do the deep work and kind of just be invisible to the clients who don't?
I'm just realizing how grateful I am and need to continue to be, because the clients that are like, just shut up and make me a button, honestly, I think they go more to agencies and organizations that have a development arm, where it's build it, hurry up and build it, put the button where it needs to be and just build it. And since we do mainly that deep truth seeking through research and then high level design concepts and wireframes, I think most of our clients want us to think. I am not client facing, which is really, that took a long time for me to be okay.
You're not client facing anymore?
I'm not.
Because you used to be, right?
I know. Yeah. I mean, I was pretty much on every client until I came back from maternity leave 4 years ago after my second child. Yeah. And at that point, clients had met some of the people on the team, loved the people on the team, and everything was going smoothly. So I said, well, I don't know why I'd have to insert myself back in. The clients seem to be happy. The staff needs to be happy. So for the last 4 years, I've been really just, I do some of the upfront kind of what can we do for you type of conversations, but mainly it's what are we here to do? Who do we hire? And writing Reframe and writing the thing about swings and speaking a lot at conferences and motivating this team to do things the Motivate way. And that's been my job, and it's been really great. It also allows me to have some work-life balance, be able to get home and not work weekends. And I think that's been really helpful too. I feel like it was just time, I think, in my career to just pass the baton from doing the client work. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I just kind of woke up and said, I want to do something else.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to change the conversation. Can I do that?
Always.
All right. So, our podcast is about people and technology. And so I'm wondering if you've, and I know this may not be, part of what you do as your job with your company, but I'm wondering if you've been thinking about about this intersection between people and technology, and if you have like dreams about, and I don't mean literal dreams while you're sleeping, but dreams while you're waking, of how you wish some technology would change, or what you're excited about in terms of people and technology moving forward in the future.
I think it's my UX training, but I almost always am thinking about journeys and scenarios and where technology could improve the experience.
All right, say more. What do you mean?
So I was at jury duty last week.
Yeah.
And there, because it was really inefficient. So inefficient that it made my blood feel a different temperature. It was just,
Now, did you get put on a trial?
I got put on a trial, but I wasn't selected as a juror. And so it was a good chunk of time.
Did they interview you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ask a million questions?
I didn't know. It was I was the answerer, if you will. But I know that we can make that process more efficient.
But that's just it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to law school.
Okay.
I know.
Awesome.
Yeah. You, of course, you can make the process more efficient.
Yes.
If you look at any kind of government system that's run by, that's governed by a series of laws and regulations.
Okay.
There's always a way to make it better.
Yes.
But what's the but, Guthrie?
It is impossible to do because it requires getting a new law passed by the legislature to simplify the requirements.
That sounds
which is a Herculean task.
It sounds a lot like we can't do that.
Guthrie, you're a skunk.
I am.
It's not possible. It is absolutely not impossible. Impossible. I don't even know what's impossible, but that's not impossible. Right?
Yes. But Herculean.
It's Herculean, yeah. So is curing world hunger. It's Herculean, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, but it's easier to do because if you want to cure,
it's easier to cure world hunger than fix the jury selection process.
It might.
Yes, because when it comes to,
I don't think so.
No. It really does. Because so if you want to fix world hunger, you can do that. All you need is you can get a group of people together and you can start a movement and you can just kind of do it.
So what if you're a senator or a congressperson? Can't you get a bunch of people together, maybe the ones that are in the room that you're in, and get them to do that?
It's hard because you have to, so if with the world hunger thing, it's simply someone needs to do it. But this is, we have to stop what everyone is doing and have them change everything. And it has to be both the state legislature has to rewrite it. It has to fit in within the laws of the Constitution, unless you want to change that, which requires the buy-in of all Americans. And then you would need also the rules for each court to be able to change. So you need all the Supreme Courts in every state on board, as well as the circuit courts in each county.
Yeah.
And
to me, you laid out an awesome game plan.
Yes.
So the person who has the passion to do this,
but that is
that's what needs to be done.
So it's but instead of just doing it, you have to coordinate these very curmudgeon-y groups of people who are far too busy to do what they're even doing on their own. That's why it's a more difficult problem. Because
I don't think it's easy. I just don't care if it's difficult, I guess. Okay. It's not my passion area, so I wouldn't probably take this cause on. There's other causes that I feel passionate about that are equal or less or more, doesn't really matter, right? They're hard too. But so what? That's what, I don't know, what problem are we solving with all this design thinking skill if it's not these kinds of problems?
But see, and hold on, we're not done yet. Because one of the reasons that things are so difficult when it comes to lawsuits most of the time is because it's in the interest of one of the parties to make things slow and difficult and boring and make the process horrible so that no one wants to do it. That's the whole point of our adversarial process. So you would have to change the incentives so that being slow and overwhelming the smaller side, quote unquote, with paperwork and this and that doesn't create wins. So now you have to change basically the entire legal system that we've had since like 1630, which is based on like the British system. So it's really a dismantling of the entire legal system in order to change this. It is tough. I said it was a Herculean problem. I was not kidding.
No, I think you're scaffolding. And when you read the book, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because what we could have done is just create an app that would ring, that would force me to come back. And so if I was in jury duty, which I was in Tribeca, and I sat in a room for 4 hours, all I needed to do is give them my cell phone number. And just like a restaurant, they could text me and I need to come back in 15 minutes because I was picked for a trial. We could have just done that. But we instead spent 5 minutes talking about the entire legal process, which is not what I said needed to change. What I said is jury duty was annoying last week. And so this is the problem, is that, we can blow it up. And I think all those things by the way, what you said on, what needs to be improved absolutely does need to be improved. But we can also start with something really small, like the exact same technology, since we're talking about technology, that's used in restaurants where when you go and you say, hey, I want a reservation, they say, great, we'll text you when something opens up. Use that.
But what if people don't show up?
Then you sit in the room. You can arrange for that to be the case where they show up. And just right now, by the way, there is a paper sign-in sheet, which is killing trees, that you have to put your name down and you can leave for 15-minute intervals. So that could happen now. It's a non-problem in my language because it's happening now. So, and it's not even a problem I'm solving for.
The legal community is notoriously curmudgeon-y.
I've heard a lot of legal tech. They're not. Like, this is what I mean. These are all excuses.
Oh, yeah, no, they're definitely excuses.
No, they're not. There's some amazing lawyers and there's some amazing legal tech companies out there that are just crushing it, really trying to make this change.
So if you go down to this might have changed, but when I was in law school and you went down to Cook County and you need to look up records, all the record systems, first of all, it's not online. You have to go down to the building. You have that nice character user interface that you use. There's not even a graphic user interface to look up court records. It's really
it needs to be redesigned. Yeah.
You know how Donald Trump
Whoa.
Well, no.
Wait.
So Donald Trump notoriously does not use email. So if he gets an email, he would have his secretary print it out, and then he would write a note on the printed out paper and give it back to the secretary to send it back.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true, but that does.
I don't know if we should talk about stuff that we don't know if it's true.
Well,
I don't know.
But
if that's
that is an allegory. It's just how are you gonna? It's just tough to convince a judge who has been using this paper record system for 40 years.
I just don't think all judges, and not all of them have been using paper record systems for 40 years. This is exactly what people said about doctors and offices, and many of them are now digital. It is totally possible. It requires some hard work. You have to roll up your sleeves.
You're just a glass half full kind of gal, aren't you?
I am not. Well, I am. But I'm just like, I have lots of glasses and they're all full. So who wants my glasses?
She's not the glass half full. She's the smash the glass.
Yeah, I am.
The person. Yeah, Mona's like a force to be reckoned with. I probably should have warned you about that.
That's good. That's good. I like the positivity.
Thank you. Thank you. It's we have to. There's a lot of jury duty is probably not one that I would say are the top 100 on my mind, but it just happened last week and I have a bad memory, so I usually pick things from 7 days ago. But
I wonder too if it's Sometimes I wonder, you know, the theory, and I guess I've heard mixed things about the research on this. And Mona, I don't know, or Guthrie, I don't know if either of you are up on the latest research on it, but there's that research. It even has a name that I can't remember, about the idea that if you let, you know, like if you have a neighborhood and you don't let, and you're afraid it's gonna, you know, go downhill, and so you don't let any, you know, there can be, if a window's broken, it has to be repaired right away. The idea being that, you know, when things start to go downhill, when people notice disintegration, then it just starts happening faster and faster. What's the name of that? There's a name for that.
Well, I mean, when it comes to crime, is broken window.
Yeah,
prevention.
that's what it's called. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that's still popular or if that even turned out to be true. But sometimes I wonder with things like what you just said, what you guys were just talking about, if, you know, if we could implement a few things, and this is just me, this is my personality, right? It's like, oh, let's just change a few things. If you could implement a few things that wouldn't be too hard and wouldn't run into the legal system too much, you know, because it is true that the procedures for how jury duty happens are different everywhere. And they change all the time. So that, I don't know, Guthrie, what the laws are about that, but, you know, as far as I can tell, every district has their own procedures for how you're called, you know, if you're called up, whether you come in right away or whether you have to sit around, or whether they tell, you know, sometimes some of them you call in at the beginning of the week and they tell you if you're on call. Sometimes you're on call for a month. I mean, it seems to be different everywhere, and it seems to change a lot. So I think there's some kind of leeway there. But I'm just wondering if we could find the places in our public lives like this, our legal public lives, where there was discretion and where we could put in something new, and we just did it, if it would start to break down this impression that many of us have that, you know, nothing's going to change, nothing can be changed, it can't be modernized, it costs too much money, it's too much work, there's too much legal. And I'm sure that all of those things are true for much of it, but there's probably stuff that could be fixed. And I wonder if you fixed and changed the things that you can, whether that would start to change this, you know, kind of snowball mindset of, you know, it's all too complicated, nothing can be changed or fixed.
You know, that's a really probably full circle statement. I love what you just said. It's basically the thing about swings. You know, I didn't play with the playground. I didn't change kids. I didn't really blow anything up. It was just, it didn't work for one person. That one person got mad enough to make a difference. And can it be improved? Yes. Does it fix everything? No.
I bet you there's a lot of low-hanging fruit when it comes to, so because when so states and local governments fund the courts, right? So, you know, the court reporter and the buildings and the filing systems and all that stuff. And they have been notoriously horribly underfunded for forever. That's why, you know, if you get each public defender has like, you know, 200 cases a day or whatever ridiculous number it is. Because, you know, when the budget gets tight, they're looking for places to cut, and no one really seems to care if they cut from the legal department, so they just continue to cut that. So it's been horribly neglected in a lot of jurisdictions for a very long time, and I bet you there's a lot of you just, but on the same side of the coin, it is not a issue that people outside the legal community seem to be particularly, you know, there are a couple Silicon Valley startups to milk money from law firms because they're so incredibly wasteful, but I'm not sure if there's the whole, like, we're going to start, like, the, what's the loan thing where the loans at Kiva? Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. You know, right? Like, where's the Kiva for jury duty? It's just not, it doesn't seem to be, at least at the moment, a hot, sexy topic. But perhaps in this new era of public attention being focused on police reform, criminal reform, the criminal justice system, maybe there is a little bit more energy in the rocket.
I don't know, Guthrie.
Perhaps.
You know, maybe you should work on this.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
I'm an
you got
ideas
the
man.
law degree.
I have ideas.
But I
I
was
need
thinking.
connections and rich people to support my cause.
You actually don't. You don't. You know, you need a really awesome vision and a really great articulation of it. And
Actually-
that's one part. And then you keep going and keep going. And the money honestly does show up. You know, it does.
I had a vision that I was gonna really wanted to make my passion, and I never spent any effort on it. In the United States, there is each legal case is kind of summed up in some way. There is no standard across the United States for legal cases when it comes to organizing them. So there's a company called Westlaw, and there's a couple different companies. And every case that happens, Westlaw, a commercial company,
Yep.
makes a book, and they put the case in the book, and it gets a Westlaw number. But then there's different companies, blah, blah, blah. There was
Yep.
no like social security number for a case in the United States, which is completely ridiculous because you should be able to cite to any case based on its serial number, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to do. You know, the first part of the number is the state, the second part is the district court,
Feels like-
the third part
This is like
is the
both
year, the
have
fourth part is the...
ISBN numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And it doesn't exist in the legal community. And so I was like, you know, I should make it my passion to create this, to standardize and simplify the process, and have a uniform, ISBN number, except it'd be like ICBN. No, anyways, I forget what the acronym is. And that would have been perfect. And then I looked at the mountain that was in front of me, and I was like, nope, I'm gonna walk away from this. And that's kind of that. So that's my sad story about me not doing anything.
That's very sad, Guthrie.
That is sad.
We want you to pick something, Guthrie, and do it.
I'm an ideas guy.
So am I. So am I. But that has nothing to do with doing something.
Well, because you're also an action person.
I became an action person. You know?
You weren't always an action person?
No, not at all. I was super shy. I used to hide behind my mom's leg.
Okay, Mona, I find very hard to
You can
believe.
talk to my mom. I would not go with her. I was super shy. And I don't know. It was, that's empty and it's meaningless and it's, you feel lonely and you realize I got to put myself out there.
So when did you become not a shy person?
It wasn't one day. It was very, very gradual from, middle school. I'd say high school is when I started. I still have some of those friends and they gave me some confidence, to speak my voice. And then college, it got even more. And then grad school got even more. And then working, with you and feeling supported, I got even more. And then it was entrepreneurship, honestly, that's probably the switch that was like, figure it out, girl. Like you want people to work for you. You want people to, get aligned with your vision and trust you, with their rent and with their mortgage and with their kids, soccer camps and so on. Get it together and show up for them. And it was really that. Guthrie, it was not like, hey, I'm already like this. It was, I found the need to be like this. I don't know if that helps, but I hope it does.
I think a lot of people I think the thing is that I don't know how independent of a person you are. I'm kind of independent, but really I need like a team to feed off of.
I really want you to read Reframe. I really do, because you don't. I started this company as one. You don't. Like all these things that you think you need are necessary to make a change. Like from blowing up the entire legal system to a team, you don't need any of it. You will, but to use them as excuses to not do something is where we all get stuck. And this is why there are many skunks, and all of us, myself included, are skunky at times.
I should just change my name. I should just change this podcast to the Skunkcast.
Wait,
Definitely name this one.
If it was a Skunkcast, then what?
It's me being a curmudgeon on my hill, yelling skunky things at people.
That's
We
kind
still love
of,
you, though.
you know,
We still love you, and we want awesome things for you.
that is kind of. Well,
It's
that's
true.
interesting.
It's
You know,
true.
in all honesty, though, I think that's one of the reasons that, yes, it's interesting, right? It's one of the, when you have the whole entrepreneurship thing is so interesting, right? I mean, Mona, you and I have both.
Crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
And so, I mean, our company is even smaller than your company. So what works, it's interesting that I think Guthrie's skunkish tendencies actually work well in our company, because I'm kind of the opposite, right? I'm like, why don't we do this? And why don't we do this? And we could do that. And we could do this. Which means I'm off in like 27 directions at the same time, which is not great for business. And so, Guthrie's the one that kind of pulls me back and slows me down a little bit. But because I'm that way, he can't slow me down. Yeah, it doesn't put a lid on it. It just helps focus me. So I actually, Guthrie, I do encourage you to read the book Reframe and to explore your non skunkish features. But I appreciate the skunkiness, and it does me a lot of good. But but it's true. It's really true. Like it would be, there's so many things that it would be better if we had a team to work on it, or it'd be easier, or might be more fun. But in the absence of having one, I'm like, I'm just going to go do it.
Hey, Mona, I have a question for you.
It's funny? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So, okay, like, I'm sure there are 45,000 different things you could do, right? You could make an app with a decimal clock, which is what I was working on this morning, by the way.
Nice.
Because I want by the way, I want everyone to use decimal time. It's a superior timekeeping system, and you just use centi-hours. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But so like at any given time, if I was like, how do you pick which one to do? Because you can't do, I mean, so let's just pick like the law serial number example.
Yeah.
It would take more effort than I could ever possibly pour in, and that's just one thing. So how do you pick which one to dedicate?
So let me do this. Let me take you through the 8 steps, right? Because that might help. So the first is all about like define the problem, so that we don't get into this, like, are we blowing up the entire legal system, or are we just making it more efficient for my jury time? My 3 days that I'm dedicating, really getting more out of it, right? Okay. So we can figure out what the problem is.
We've narrowed your scope.
Yeah. Second is a lot of empathy around what this experience is like, so that we really have a 3D picture of the problem we're solving. So empathy maps, problem empathy maps, which is all in the book. The third is you ask all these what if questions, and that's where you come up with the 45 ideas, let's say, that we come up with. And then the rest of the steps are all about bringing it back down. So from there's something called funnel vision, which is you take your 45 ideas, and there's a set of questions that filter out the good ideas from the great ideas from the bad ideas. And you end up with probably only 5 or 6. Usually it's at most 10. Then there's a matrix, this how-wow matrix, which is how hard is this to do, and how much wow factor would this idea have? And you plot the ideas there. And that leads you to even fewer ideas. And then there's actually prototyping and kind of seeing, what would this be? How would this work? What did we not understand or know about these ideas moving forward? And that's how you kind of land on 1 or 2 really good ideas that you can move forward into a full product sprint. And so there's an entire process around this. It's definitely not like jury duty, let's just fix it. There's 8 steps that take you from whatever your problem is to whatever the solution is. And that's why I wrote that book. To be really honest, I started to feel really selfish, because many design thinkers have figured it out, myself included. And so we know how to do it. And a lot of the startups in legal tech, or a lawyer who's really passionate and doesn't have legal design background, is the person we need to ignite. Is the person that says, I know the problem, I have no idea how to solve it. And that's what this book is about. It's about solving those kinds of problems that are important to you, whether it's a laundromat that you own that you need to fix, which was a couple friend of mine, and that's what's in the book, to an app, to decimal time. And, really starting to figure that out. It's like, what's the thing that you care about? Well, here's the process that takes you there. One thing about the team, though, I also want to mention is that in the workshops, people are allowed to go and work on whatever solution calls to them. So we basically put them all up on the wall around the whole room and say, go to the one that inspires you. And I mean, pretty much all the time, that's not equally distributed. So one idea might have 10 people. Another idea might have 10 people. The next idea might have one person. The next idea might have 3 people. And the last idea might have 4 people, right? That's what it comes out to be. And that's like real companies. Sometimes you have a lot of resources and you spend a lot of time talking. Other times you have fewer resources. And so you don't have all the ideas and all the hands, but you got stuff done. So, the workshop also kind of brings that to light of it's not a pro or con to have a lot of people in your team. It's not a pro or con to have money sometimes, because some of the best ideas come with a scarcity of money, where you just have to figure it out with not many resources. And that starts to come to life, that all these things were just excuses.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
Cool. I'm glad.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, Guthrie, we're going to expect to hear from you soon.
Yes.
About which of the issues you decided to tackle.
I'll work on my app. I'll work on my decimal time app.
All
That's
right.
something I have
Yay.
control over.
We got it.
That's
Let's
awesome.
work on the decimal app.
Awesome.
Yeah, I want to actually, Guthrie, we should maybe one of our podcasts we can talk about the decimal time, because I don't know a lot about that. So I'd kind of like to know about that.
The fun fact, Napoleon instituted it in France for like a decade. And
really?
And there's a bunch of interesting. Yeah, it's very simple. Currently, our time is structured, not days. Don't worry about days, because but our time is structured on the Babylonian base 60.
Yes.
Right, 60
Actually,
seconds
I
in a
do know
minute.
that. Yeah.
60 minutes in an hour.
Yeah.
And then 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. There's no reason for that to be the case. And so what they came up with was a SI basically unit of time. Well, it's not a unit of time, but it's a, standard system where instead of 24 hours a day, there are 10 hours in a day and there are 100 minutes in an hour. Very simple. And the convenient part about that is that let's say it's hour 4 minute, so if it's hour 4, the day is exactly 40% over. So there's an actual meaning to the
That's
hour.
Cool.
It's
That's
like
cool.
how much of the day has passed. And so if you work from hour 4 to so the problem people run into is, let's say you've worked in our normal time from 4:40 to 5:25. How many hours have you worked? Well, you have to figure out how many minutes that is, and then figure out what percent of an hour those minutes are. So it's very confusing. If you use decimal time, you just subtract the two, and that's what percentage of the day you've worked. So it's really simple if you're doing timekeeping, that kind of stuff. So that's my decimal time pitch.
All right, good. We're gonna explore that. Maybe we'll take it through.
If there are any Android devs out
reframe.
there who want to help me, the app kind of works, but I'm having trouble with the widget for Android.
There you go.
I bet we have some. So what do you need, Guthrie? You need somebody who's
okay. I've done some minor dev work in my day. I went to law school. Okay, I'm not. I didn't get a graduate degree in computer science. I haven't worked for a profession, in a professional capacity. Yeah. So there's just dumb mistakes that I'm making that
in
you
the
know,
Android
that
app.
that if you were anyone who knew what they were doing, could fix
All right,
in
so
a
any
minute.
Android app developers who would like to help Guthrie out on his, what's it called? Decimal time?
Yeah.
Android
It's
app.
just a clock.
And Guthrie, where can they email us about this?
info@theteamw.com.
All right, now Mona, this
Yeah.
has been so much fun.
I'm
Thank
glad. I
you
had
so
a
much
blast.
for coming on with us. Can you tell us if people want to get hold of you, if they want, they're interested in the Reframe book, they're interested in the Thing About Swings book, or they're interested in hiring your some of the staff from your company to help them and service their skunks. Where can they get hold of you?
Yes, absolutely. So you can buy Reframe, Shift the Way You Work, Innovate, and Think on Amazon, and everything else from buying a bulk, I hope, of these children's books to working with us on design thinking workshops, you can contact me directly. It's Mona, Mona, at motivatedesign.com.
All right. It was great. It was great talking to you.
You were great. Both of you were great. Thank you.
I really look forward to, we'll start spreading your Reframe book around some more. Then I'm looking forward to the Thing About Swings when it's available.
Yeah, Mona, if there's anything you ever want to plug, just you can be on the podcast whenever.
Thank you so much. And I may take you up on the offer on the publishers. That would be a good exercise for me, just to see if there's anybody who actually wants to do what I want to do with it, or if I just make a decision to self-publish. That would be great.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, bye guys.
All right,
Thanks,
bye.
everyone. Bye.